Hello everyone, this is Karthikeyan. In this video, we will be discussing the blueprint for NEET Biology for class 11. Based on few comments and suggestions from many people, I have done this video. So this video I have made based on my own analysis of about 15 years question papers. So I've taken question papers from 2004 till 2019. So we had AIPMT exams, and also I have referred a few AIIMS question papers, and I have also of course referred till NEET 2019 papers, and I have made this video for you. So what I wanted from you all is, before you start studying by this technique, I want you guys to have gone through the NCERT at least twice. So if you have gone through the complete NCERT twice, then this video will be really helpful for you people to do a last minute revision. If you have not done this, it's absolutely fine. You start reading the NCERT and try to focus more on the topics that I am going to tell. So my slides will contain the name of the chapter and the average number of questions that had been asked. And I will be telling you what are the important concepts that you must focus on. So you can kindly make a note of it for the next. So this will run for the next 25 to 30 minutes. So you can just kindly jot down whatever I am telling you so that it will be really helpful for your revision. Let's get started. So to just brush up the portions of class 11 biology. So the first unit is diversity in living world, where we have 4 chapters: living world, biological classification, plant kingdom, and animal kingdom. The next unit, structural organization in plants and animals. So we will be focusing on the morphology of the flowering plants and the anatomy of plants, followed by structural organization in animals. So we'll be discussing on some tissues, and also we'll be focusing on the cockroach part. Next is cellular biology unit. So we'll be talking on different aspects of cell organelles and its functions, and we'll be talking on the biomolecules and cell cycle and division. The fourth unit is the plant physiology, wherein we have 5 chapters: how various substances are getting transported and what are the different hypotheses that explains transportation of various substances. Then about some elements that is necessary for normal functioning of the plant, photosynthesis in plants, respiration in plants, and of course we will be discussing on the hormones that can probably promote the growth of the plant and its development. These are the 5 chapters in plant physiology. The most interesting unit of +1 bio, that is human physiology, that runs for about 7 chapters, will be discussing on different physiological functions that takes place in our body, like your digestion and absorption, breathing and exchange of gases, body fluids and circulation, excretory products and elimination, locomotion and movement, neural control and coordination, and chemical control and integration. So we will be discussing on these chapters. So this completes my class 11 portions. So let's get into individual chapters, like what is the weightage being given and what are the concepts that you must focus on. Living world. So the number of questions is 1. Sometimes they have not asked any questions also. It's a very good thing. The least important chapter given, the priority that is being given will be living world. So around, for the 15 years paper analysis that I have done, only 7 or 8 times there was a question that appeared, that only 1 question at maximum. So what you need to know here, so what concept I need to focus on to ace this 1 question, if you ask me, mostly the questions are from taxonomical aids. So we have, you all know, we have this herbarium, key, and all that, right? Especially focus on herbarium and key. So these are the 2 things that you must focus on. Almost every year question have been asked from these 2 parts. So they give you the definition of herbarium. So dash is a kind of a taxonomical aid where dried preserved specimens are kept. Question goes that simple. Or they can ask, name the taxonomical aid where a contrasting pair of traits are being used. Question goes very simple with the definition. Or sometimes they try to ask questions on the kind of material that is being used for preserving the specimens, like the sheet, what is the composition of sheet and all that. So Kindly focus on taxonomical aids, study every line of NCERT. Questions are asked only from that. Secondary, what you need to, okay, I just have to complete this. If you think that, you will have a tabular column in NCERT having the family, the genus, species of mango, wheat, and all that. So focus on that. So primarily focus on taxonomical aids, followed by the tabular column containing family, genus, and all the names of wheat, mango, etc. This is the thing that you must focus on with respect to living world. Next, biological classification, the average number of questions is 4 to 5. Sometimes they have asked even 6 to 7 questions. And plant kingdom, we have 3 to 4 questions on an average. And similarly, animal kingdom, we have 3 to 4 questions on an average. Why did I just go through the slides so fast is, for all the 3 chapters, you have a common protocol to be followed. Many people, they find it difficult to memorize the examples. They find it very difficult to remember the facts. It's a very factual chapter. Then how you need to approach. So if you count the number of questions from these chapters, it goes around 15 questions. So it ranges from 10 to 15 questions. Out of this, around 5 to 6 questions will be an example based one. For example, if you ask me, which of the following given organisms or which of the following given species has a water vascular system? You all know poriferans and echinodermids, they have a water vascular system. So you must know the examples of poriferans, you should know the examples of echinodermata. And you need to know the general characteristic. 2 questions will be from general characteristics, for which you can refer the tabular column, especially for animal kingdom. There is a beautiful tabular column given at the end of NCERT, at the end of the lesson of that chapter. Okay, like questions are like, which of the following organisms are true coelomates with segmentation? Which of the following organisms has an excretory organ and true coelomate? So questions are being asked like this. So you need to focus on the general characteristics, focus on examples. So the next question that I want to address is how you need to remember these examples. Just imagine your zoology teacher or your botany teacher, he or she comes to the class without any textbooks and she teaches you for 1.5 hours. So she would have got a technique by which she is remembering the examples. And it need not be that you need to know completely follow her acronym. You might be A.R. Rahman's a fan, or Ilayaraja's a fan, or Anirudh fan, or you can be a Vadivelu fan, Vivek fan, or Kenneth Sebastian fan. So you can be any celebrity's fan. Okay, if you take heroes like Vijay, Surya, you will be superstar fan also. What you do, try to remember a dialogue of them and try to include it in your examples. Definitely you will get. And once you do that, you will never forget. So try to know, get some examples that might suit you, that you will never forget. Try to frame such examples and try to remember. It will definitely occur. It will take time. You need to invest some time, but it is worth investing. So if you ask me some important topics, sure, that is, if you take biological classification, one question will definitely come from protistans. What are the different classes and how they differ? And euglenoids, they ask one question from euglenoids. Very often it had appeared. So kingdom protista is a very, very important topic. And one question will be from virus. They can ask you about the Theo dinner discovery, or they can ask about the proteinaceous code that the virus has. So these are some important topics that you must definitely focus on. So protestant will be a definite question here, and virus will be a definite question, and maybe from monerans or all the questions are appearing. So you need to be thorough with each and every text of these 3 chapters, no other go. Plant kingdom, if you ask me, one question will be from gymnosperms, and either from gymnosperms or from angiosperms. One question is appearing from biophylum. One question is appearing from the types of algae. Apart from this, there can be some deviations, right? In some years, I have seen questions, which are the following organisms as an isogamous, which are the following are oogamous. So questions are appearing like this. So example-based questions are more when you see questions of these three chapters. So kindly focus on examples and focus on these topics. So gymnosperms and angiosperms, pteridophytes, bryophyllum especially, they are more interested in these reproductive structures. So focus on all this. Animal kingdom, I have already told you. Examples, the tabular column. One question will be definitely from Cordage. It will be a direct question. Mostly questions are being asked outside NCERT from non-Cordage, for which if you are going to solve mock papers, learn examples from those mock papers, it will suffice. I hope you are clear. So these are the areas that you must focus on for animal kingdom. With this, we are completing the first unit, expected questions. Next, we are moving on to the second unit, morphology of flowering plants. Again, utmost importance has been given to this chapter. We have around 4 to 5 questions. So how to approach this chapter? I'll just tell you, one question will be from modification of root or stem. Leaf is also not repeating that often, but root and stem, like they are friends of examiners, I believe. Every year, either root comes or stem comes. Sometimes both have been appeared. Once or twice, we have a question from leaf. So modification will be a simple question you can crack. And of course, all your faculties would have told you, we have a question coming from placentation, estivation. So these three definite questions. Now, the remaining 2 questions, one question can be asked from family. So if a question comes from different families that is given at the end of your NCERT textbook, I mean the end of the chapter, we will have that 5th question. So this 4 or 5, the 5th question, usually it comes from the family of certain things. You have some families given like your Solanaceae, all that, right? So questions have been appeared from that. Or they ask you examples of zygomorphic, actinomorphic. So the position of the flower is very important in that sense. So these are the topics. So kindly focus on modifications. You will have one question from placentation, one question from estivation. The 4th question will be from the zygomorphic or actinomorphic, or they can ask you epigynous, hypogynous, perigynous. So based on the position of the flower. And if they get into the 5th question, we will be having it from the family. So family, again, tabulate. I always say for botany, it's better you tabulate. You create your own tables. You need not refer textbook or internet for creating a table. You can create your own table. It will help you because you have done something, right? So that will stay with you for a longer time. So this is about morphology of flowering plants. Anatomy of flowering plants, 2 or 3 questions. Again, one definite question from tissues. They will ask you about xylem of phloem. Which of the following component is present in gymnosperm but not in angiosperm? Which of the following is a simple tissue? Which of the following is a complex tissue? Which of the following is an element? Okay, if you take xylem, you have so many types of cells that make up a xylem, right? So one question will be surely from the tissues, simple and complex tissues. One question will be from the secondary growth, and one question, this 3, almost every year you get you get 3 questions from anatomy. 3rd question will be from the type of the type of wood, spring wood, autumn wood, all that. So you get a question from that. So the last 3 pages of NCERT, it's very, very, very important. You can get 1 or 2 questions from that. And sometimes we get a question from stomata, structure of the stomata. Which of the following ion is going to cause a turgor pressure in the stomatal walls? And sometimes questions have been appeared just on the structure. Which of the following cell makes up the outer aspect of the stomata? So question goes very simple like that from stomata. So kindly focus on the secondary growth. What is the cork cambium? How that cambial ring is formed? And kindly go through the types of wood, which appears in autumn, which appears in spring. What are the characteristic feature of an autumn wood? What are the characteristic feature of a spring wood? So that 2 pages are very, very, very important. You will surely get 1 or 2 questions from that. And 1 question from simple and the complex tissues. Structural organization, very simple. Either you will get 2 questions from cockroach itself, 1 from anatomy, 1 from morphology, or you will have 1 question from anatomy of cockroach and 1 they go from tissues, connective tissue, like dense connective tissue. They can ask about regular, irregular connective tissues, or they can ask about the lining epithelium of certain structures. So mostly cockroach is the question. Very rarely they have touched on the tissues. Even in cockroach, if you ask me, reproduction is very important. Reproductive part of the cockroach is very important. And morphology, how will you differentiate a male and a female cockroach? So you need to basically know something on anal styles and anal cerci. So that aspect is very, very, very important. So kindly focus on cockroach anatomy and physiology, the morphology of cockroach. Next, cell, the unit of life. We all will think it's a very simple chapter. We have been learning this right from our 7th class. But trust me, you have so much of information from this chapter. Kindly go through each and every aspect of NCERT. One question comes from the structure of chromosomes. What is a metacentric? What is a submetacentric? What is an acrocentric? So from the types of chromosome, we will get in one question. Sometimes the arrangement of centrioles is a favorite question of examiners. They have just simply put 9+2 arrangement, 11 arrangement. So centriole structures is very important. Plasma membrane, phospholipid bilayer, fluid mosaic model, that's a very important part. And please kindly focus on Golgi apparatus, lysosomes, endoplasmic reticulum. Each and every line. I have also seen few mock papers where questions are appearing from Golgi apparatus, lysosomes, and endoplasmic reticulum. Study each and everything by heart if possible, each and every line, because questions are directly taken from those NCERT lines and question has been framed. So definite question, if you ask me, will be from this Golgi apparatus, endoplasmic reticulum. You will have one question from the types of chromosomes. So these two are fixed. Remaining two, it's in your hands. So focus on fluid mosaic model, focus on the centriole pattern. So read this chapter very thoroughly. Sometimes question goes very simple. Which of the following organelle has its own DNA? So you will just choose mitochondria and then the plastids. So some questions goes even simple like this. So kindly focus on each and every line of NCERT. So for this, Golgi apparatus, endoplasmic reticulum, types of chromosome is a short question. Biomolecules, 2 or 3. Again, it's a very simple chapter. Mostly 2 questions. I have seen 3 questions only around 3 or 4 years out of 15 years. Only thrice I was able to appreciate 3 questions from biomolecules. One question will be from energetics, the last part, the kinetic theory. Right, so activation energy, presence and absence of an enzyme, so how an activation energy is going to vary. And one question will be from classes of enzymes, examples of ligase enzyme, lyases, hydroxylases. So question goes from classes of enzymes. And one question can be from almost the structure of the proteins, quaternary structure, helical structure, keratin sheath. So question goes very simple. Structure, you need to look onto the structure of proteins, primary structure, secondary, tertiary, and quaternary structure examples, and focus on the kinematics, enzyme kinematics, the activation energy, and all that you focus on. And the third question is classes of enzymes. So these 3 kindly focus by heart if possible. Okay, so this is about this chapter. Cell cycle and division, a very simple chapter. We all panic, but it's very simple. What you need to know, basically, this chapter you need to know everything. Mitosis, meiosis, what are the phases? Most important, if you ask me, the phase where recombination, the crossing over occurs. That's a very, very, very important question. Almost twice, the question was asked in 2019, 2016. So once in 2 years, the question comes. Crossing over happens in which phase, and in which phase chromosomes can be easily visible under the microscope, so that the scientist can study the morphology of the chromosomes. You need to know that aspect. And in which of the following phase the chromosomes are in the equatorial plate, in which phase it moves towards the pole. Questions will be very simple. So understand the basic concept and the basic difference between the mitosis and meiosis. So one question will be from this, another question will be from the cell cycle. Interphase, what happens in interphase, G1, G2, S phase. So what happens in S phase? Very important statement will be doubling of DNA material with same number of chromosomes. It's a very, very, very important point. So in our NCERT textbook, we have mentioned it as 4N or 4C, and then S4N and 2C you would have mentioned. In the S phase, what will happen is there is going to be doubling of the DNA molecule but the chromosome number will be the same. That's a very, very, very important statement. So there is a calculation based question asked from that. A parent cell has so much number of DNA and chromosome. What happens to the daughter cell? There are calculative based questions from that asked in AIIMS. AIPMT, it was asked somewhere around 2008, I believe. I'm not very sure about the year, but it was asked a decade back, I can say. So we do not know what will happen, right? So be thorough with that. So cell cycle, what happens? And very important, one more question: which of the following statements is true about G naught phase? Which of the following is false about G naught phase? We all think in G naught phase cell is inactive, right? Cell is inactive for division, but it is metabolically active. Please note that point. Cell is going to be metabolically active. So I'll just write here as MA. So just understand, MA stands for metabolically active. Cell is metabolically active, but it is not going to undergo for division. That is with respect to your G naught phase. So please be thorough with this point. So these are some points that you must focus on with respect to this chapter. Transport in plants, again, it's like the living world chapter. Very rarely questions are being asked. Even if they ask, the preferred question is from mass bulk flow hypothesis, or they ask about the Staga pressure, osmotic pressure. Based on the DPD, questions are being asked. So kindly work out as many problems as possible related to DPD, the osmotic pressure, the Staga pressure, and focus on mass bulk flow hypothesis. These two are very important. Sometimes the question goes very simple, like example of a positive hydrostatic pressure, example of a negative hydrostatic pressure. Question goes even very simple like this. So mainly focus on problems with DPD and also with the mass bulk flow hypothesis. This will suffice this chapter. Next, mineral nutrition. Again, we'll have only one or two questions. If you ask me, one will be like from the biological cycle, mostly from the nitrogen cycle questions. Examiner's favorite question is from nitrogen cycle. Which of the following helps in nitrification, which helps in ammonification, which of the following organisms help in denitrification? Mostly the organisms. So kindly be thorough with the different microorganisms that play a very important role in every step of a nitrogen cycle. Kindly focus on that. The steps is also very rarely asked question, but the microorganism is the favorite question of examiners. So kindly focus on the microorganisms that play a very important role with the nitrogen cycle. And one more question will be from which of the following is a mobile element, which of the following is an immobile element, which of the following causes necrosis, which of the following elements deficiency causes chlorosis. So as far as deficiency is concerned, focus on chlorosis and necrosis, very important, and you focus on the biogeochemical cycles. That's again a very important aspect, especially the microorganisms. That will again suffice mineral nutrition. Photosynthesis in plants, we think it's a very difficult chapter, but if you complete, it's one of the easiest chapter. One question will be from the difference between C3, C4 cycle, for which you will have the tabular column in NCERT. Almost every year, there is a question from C3, C4 cycle. What is the difference between these two? And one question will be from the cyclic and the non-cyclic photophosphorylation, which is concerned with PS 700, which is concerned with PS 680. One question can be from the discovery. So if the examiner goes for the third question, they ask from the discoveries. What did Engelmann do? What did Evan-Gauss do? So there are some questions based on experimental discoveries. So how you need to approach the experimental discovery? Name of the scientist, what was his objective, what was the result of the experiment, or what did he conclude? Like how you structure your answer for your practical examination that you have done in your 12th, the same thing that you must do. Name of the scientist, what was the intention or the objective of a study, what was the result that he concluded with. So this will be the protocol under which you will study the experiments. And difference between C3, C4 cycle, study about the Kranz anatomy difference, what are the advantages given by the Kranz anatomy, and you need to focus on cyclic and non-cyclic photophosphorylation. So these are the usual questions from there. Respiration in plants, again a very simple chapter. One question will be from respiratory quotient. So know what is a respiratory quotient, values of carbohydrates, proteins and fats. Very simple. And one question can be from the amphibolic pathway, or they directly ask from glycolysis. The energy consumed, what is the net ATP molecules. So questions will be very basic. So study the energetics of glycolysis and try to understand certain important enzymes from the glycolytic pathway. The key enzymes we call, try to understand the key enzymes of glycolysis. So key enzymes of glycolysis, respiratory quotient, and have a look into amphibolic pathway. So how each of the, what you need to know, you need not memorize the entire pathway. How glucose enters, how protein enters, how fat enters. That's it, very simple. And how it enters into Krebs cycle. If you know this, it's more than enough. So very basic question. Plant physiology, you can score 10 on 10. Almost you'll get 10 to 12 questions from plant physiology. You can surely get 10 on 10. It's very, 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 very simple unit because they will not go mostly outside NCERT. They have not asked so far. So kindly study NCERT thoroughly to get full marks from plant physiology. Plant growth and development, again mostly 1 or 2 question. Focus, tabulate the different hormones which helps in promoting, which actually helps in seed dormancy, which favors seed dormancy, which promotes seed germination, and which helps in ripening of the fruit. So just try to understand the peculiar features of every hormone, and 1 question will be from vernalization of photoperiodism. So mostly this will be the thing. The second question will be from photoperiodism. Definitely 1 question will be from auxin or gibberellin. Ethylene, you all know this with ripening and all that. So ethylene is again an important question, but mostly question comes with auxin or gibberellin. So better study all the hormones, tabulate the differences between them so that it will help you. That's with plant growth and development. Digestion and absorption, again 1 or 2 questions. Focus on the enzymes. Which of the following cell secretes HCl? What is the source of HCl? What is the source of pepsinogen? They can ask which of the following is present in pancreatic juice but not in intestinal juice. Study the enzyme contents well. What are the enzymes present in pancreatic juice? What are the following present in intestinal juice? These cells from the stomach. We have parietal cells, peptic cells, right? So, and try to study the other name also. That is very important. And try to study PEM, protein energy malnutrition. Questions have also appeared from that. So mostly go with PEM and 1 with the process of digestion. I mean the enzyme contents, the stomach cells, and histology. What I want you guys to remember, 1 point is the only structure, the only intestinal structure where there is submucosal glands. If you appreciate the histology of GI tract, everywhere will be having mucosal glands. If you talk about the parietal cells or my chief cells, all these are with my mucosa of my stomach. But the only structure where we have the submucosal glands, it will be from duodenum. So duodenum as submucosal glands, and the name of the glands will be, just do not mind my handwriting, I'm sorry, is Brunner's gland. BRUNNERS, Brunner's gland. Focus on that. That is again 1 question that comes quite often. So submucosal gland is present in which structure of which part of the intestine? Focus on the enzymatic contents. That will suffice digestion and absorption. Breathing and exchange, it's quite important. You get 2 or 3 questions. 1 will be from disorders. Difference between emphysema. What is emphysema? How it differs from bronchitis? That will be 1 question. 1 question will be from the exchange of gases, and 1 will be from the respiratory volumes and capacities. That's a definite question. Try to, sometimes question is very simple. The value of this capacity or the value or the formula for this capacity is what? But sometimes I give you a clinical question. That is where they try to go beyond NCERT. If you would have seen my interview, I would have told you applicative based questions. So they try to give you a clinical case scenario. The patient came with a breathlessness. There was tidal volume, a spirograph was done. The tidal volume was so and so, its capacity was so and so. Calculate this value. So question goes that way. So you need to correlate 1 or 2 formulas to solve that question. So 1 will be definitely from the volume and capacities, 1 will be from disorders, 1 might be from that partial pressure, how the gradient is formed with respect to O2 and how it is formed with CO2. Question goes that way. So the 3rd question will be the partial pressure question. But these 2 questions, 1 will be with respect to volumes and capacities. It can be sometimes in form of match the following also. And 1 question will be from disorders. Kindly focus on that. Body fluids in circulation. ECG. It's a short question, and sometimes they ask from the cell, the classification of WBC, its functions are asked, and very rarely they ask question with respect to cardiac cycle. When the LUB sound is heard, when the DUB sound is heard, what are the duration of the atrial systole, atrial diastole. So cardiac cycle, how you need to study is you have to know the duration of different phases. When LUB sound is present, when DUB sound is heard, what are the characteristic feature of these two? That will be more than enough. So please be thorough with ECG. P wave stands for what? QRS complex is for what? T wave is for what? And if there is flattening of these segments, then what is the most likely cause? This will be the question. Very rarely they ask with disorders, but focus on this, especially the duration of each phase of cardiac cycle and ECG, followed by WBCs you can focus on. Excretory products and elimination. One will be from regulation of kidney function. Very important, that too especially from renin-angiotensin system. What is the source of renin? How renin acts? Which converts angiotensin 1 to 2? Which converts angiotensinogen into angiotensin 1? So question goes that way. So regulation is very important. Which hormone is stimulated during decrease in BP? Which is stimulated during increase in BP? So question 1 will be from regulation. One question will be from urine formation. Mostly they can ask the function of tubules. What is the major site of reabsorption? So which of the following statement is true about the maximum site of reabsorption? So you need to know about the brush border epithelium. PCT as brush border epithelium, that makes it be the major site for reabsorption, where conditional reabsorption takes place, where aldosterone acts, where ADH acts. All these you must know. So please be thorough with urine formation and with the regulation of kidney functions. These two are very, very, very important aspects with respect to this chapter. Locomotion and movement, again, 3 questions or 2 or 3. One will be from joints, that too especially examples of a pivot joint. They can ask about the guiding joint. So what are the different types of synovial joints you must know. Sometimes question goes as simple like fibrous joint. Question stops there. So you just be thorough with the joints more than the bones. Joints are very important, and one question will be from the muscle, that too especially from the questions related to sarcomere. What happens when during muscle contraction, and you need to know about the actin myosin, the cross bridge formation, what happens. So they will give you a pictorial representation, and you need to find the correct sequence of occurrence of events. So questions can be like that. One will be from the muscle and one will be from joints. And in muscle, if you ask me what you need to focus on the contractile unit, sarcomere. What is the composition of sarcomere? What is an I band, A band, H band, H line, and all that you focus on. And sometimes there is a question on difference between red and white fibers, where there is excess amount of mitochondria, where there is less amount of mitochondria, why there is a red color, white is called red, white is called white. So just try to understand the difference between the red and the white fibers. Again, that is more than enough for this chapter. Neural control and coordination, one will be from ear or eye. One question will be from that, and the second question will be from brain. They can ask you simply about what is a corpus callosum, where this vomiting center is present, which constitutes hindbrain, which of the following belongs to midbrain. Mostly forebrain questions are asked. Hypothalamus is very important. So that brain, that one side in NCERT is very important, and mainly focus on eye and ear. Eye, you should know the parts and which of the following does not receive a blood supply. That point you must know. And you should know about the macula densa, and there will be a central dip, right? So what it is mainly consisting of, and all that you must know. And ear is concerned, you should know about the fluid, how the membranous labyrinth, the bony labyrinth, how it is arranged, what is scala vestibuli, what is scala media, where the membrane, tactile membrane are present, all that you must know. So eye, ear is a short question. Eye or ear, mostly eye is asked. Ear is not a frequent question. Eye study first, followed by ear, and one question is definitely from your brain. The third question can be from either the synapse. They will ask you arrange the synaptic transmission in an order, or they can ask you what to give some examples of pseudo unipolar neurons or bipolar neurons where it is present. They go with neurons. Sometimes they have asked about squam cells. What is the role of the squam cell? Identify the best option with respect to squam cells. So focus on those aspects. Chemical control and integration. One will be from pancreas. Glucose homeostasis, calcium homeostasis are very important. Focus first on these, then go with mechanism of action of hormones. I'm just telling you, almost every question had been asked equally from this chapter. So I'm just telling you the order in which you must go. Study glucose homeostasis. What are the process? What are the hormones? What are the source of those hormones? Then calcium homeostasis, which causes hypocalcemia, which causes hypercalcemia. Go with mechanism of action of hormones. So the following hormones as an intercellular receptors, which has an extracellular receptors. And very important point is about osteoporosis. Estrogen therapy can reverse osteoporosis. Once in AIIMS, they had asked this question. Post-menopausal women, they go with hormone replacement therapy. What is the most likely cause of that? This was question one. I saw it in one of the AIIMS exam. What was the question? Usually post-menopausal women, they go for estrogen hormone replacement therapy. What is the most likely cause is to reverse osteoporosis. Understand, osteoporosis can be decreased or reversed to some extent by means of estrogen therapy. So this is also given in NCERT, but it will be given in very cutty lines. Okay, so we tend to omit that and we just go, but please be very thorough with that. Be thorough with tetany. These are the questions or the concepts that you must focus on. So if you take approximately a 11th portion, it stands or it has slightly an upper hand over 12th portion, 49 to 52 questions. And trust me, whatever concepts I have told you, if you are going to focus more on that, if you are going to solve mock papers seriously, understand every question in the mock paper, you compare your mock paper with NCERT, find solutions of every option that is given in every single question, you can definitely crack or you can at least score 47 out of this 52. I can bet. Even if you have not started with bio, it's not too late. Start with bio right from today or tomorrow. Focus on whatever concepts I have told. Solve mock papers, learn from mock papers. As I always say, mock paper is the best teacher currently. It will teach you so many things. So you will come across 360 options, 90 questions, each with 4 options. You will come across 360 options. And mostly I told you those non-coordinates, we have this examples, from outside NCERT. All that, if you are going to solve mock papers, I bet you will not get any example outside the mock papers. Focus on that, study well, work hard, do not worry about the ongoing situation. It all will come to normal one day and you will definitely give NEET and do the best. Thank you all. And any suggestions, any doubts, you want any topics to be taught and to be published in this YouTube channel, very well you can put in the comment section. I'll be pleased to help you as much as I can. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.